Hello, everybody. Welcome back to BnB Anime. You're back with different quality audio because I'm back at my parents' house.
But for some reason, it doesn't sound as bad as it used to this time.
No, I think, things have slightly changed in this room. This used to be my recording studio. I'm going to put the pen down because it's going to pick up on the mic.
You act like we use Yetis that are the most sensitive bitches on the entire planet.
Honestly, though. But yeah, the room that I'm in is like just a random spare room in the house that kind of got left up to whoever. It used to be a spare bedroom, but we honestly, we kind of bought the house with the intention of a lot of family coming over from the UK fairly frequently because we do have a very big family. And that has happened on several times, but it's kind of like all of the family comes at once rather than like one or two people come. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we don't end up using the spare room as much as anywhere near as much as we thought that we would. So it's kind of just like a random room for us to do whatever we want in. So while I was living here, it was my Twitch studio, and like the wall's still here with all my shelving unit and my like trinkets that I have on it. And that was kind of like what it was. When I was a teenager, me and the twins, we used to call it the studio or the snug. And we had like a couch in here, and this is where we had all of our Minecraft sessions until like 4 a.m. eating pizza on the floor. And like it was the kind of situation where we would have plug-in fans that would work for our computer or our laptops because they were so old and we were running so much shit on them. And then we would have our like laptops stacked on books. We would have like as much like cooling as we could possibly fit into it because we were playing like heavy modded Minecraft on shitty like school laptops. It was
that's
fun,
great. That's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah, and right now it's my mum's sewing storage room. So it's got like loads of fabric in it. So I think that's probably why the sound isn't too bad in here. Although the couch has been removed and is now up in my mum's office. Because she doesn't actually sew in this room. She sews in her office, but sewing. If you're a seamstress, if you like to sew, or if you're a crafty person in general, you understand how much things accumulate. So, especially if you're a thrifter, and my mum loves to go secondhand shopping, so whenever she goes and she finds like nice fabric, she'll just pick it up because fabric's expensive, right? If you buy it from like the Bolt in a fabric store. So she'll go around secondhand shops, and if she finds like a sheet in an interesting fabric that hasn't ever been used or has been rarely used, normally they're like 100% cotton or like really nice fabric, right? And you can get them from a secondhand shop for like $4 for like an entire sheet. Like you can make a whole pair of pants with that. So my mom has a lot of like fabric here. So but I think anyway, point being, it's probably the reason why the sound isn't too bad is because there's a load of fabric in here.
Makes sense. So I had a brilliant idea this week.
What was that?
So did I tell you that I got a dumpling steamer?
No.
So myself and my cousin decided to put our brains together, considering that Walker and Bree moved in next door to me. And so with them being on the other side of this duplex, Bree and I decided to put our brains together and decide that we were going to get a bamboo basket for steaming. So we made gyoza, which I will send you a picture of now. I uploaded it to both of the Instagrams.
Ooh, delicious.
So with that being said, I got ramen this week. It was the first time I've gotten ramen from the place here in town. Yeah. I went with the girlfriend last weekend, and I decided to make the waitress put her money where her mouth was.
Oh.
Because whenever I ordered my ramen, she was like, do you want it regular or do you want it spicy? And I was like, that's not even a question. Make it as spicy as humanly possible. She was like, well, we got a paste that's made from Carolina Reapers. So she's like, you might just want to try it first, just to be sure.
Yeah.
And in my brain, I'm like, all right, challenge accepted. Give me as much of that as humanly possible. And I won't even try it. It's going straight in the ramen.
Yeah.
So I put every bit of the paste that they give me in the ramen, down it all, drank the broth, the whole 9 yards. Didn't bother me too much. Like, it actually had a really nice flavor, so it was delicious to put in the ramen, and it had a little bit of a kick. But for something to claim to be made with Carolina Reapers, no.
Right.
But anyway, with that being said, so I got ramen this past week from the local place for the first time in months. And instead of the normal pork that I get in it, because they were out, instead they've implemented new beef dumplings.
Ooh.
And as soon as I saw that, my brain started spinning, because I am a very avid eater of Mexican food, tacos, and stuff like that. So I've come up with a new dinner idea that intrigues me to no end. Although it may be blasphemous, I have to try it.
Okay.
Taco gyoza.
You know, as a fan of taco pizza, I think you should go for it.
I mean, I think we're going to do a game night with like the whole friend group, the girlfriend, everybody. And we're going to take like taco meat and queso or steak and queso, wrap them up in the gyoza and steam those bitches and just see what happens. Because I don't think you could go wrong with that, because the taste of gyoza wrappers are very similar to that of corn tortillas. In fact, I believe the only difference is gyoza wrappers are made with flour, whereas corn tortillas are made with cornmeal.
Right.
So very similar textures, and the taste is very similar. It's just flour instead of cornmeal. So I'm like, there's not too much of a difference.
Just like a flour tortilla and a corn tortilla.
Just not as thick. Because flour tortilla is thick.
They're thick.
Comparatively.
Beastie babies.
Yeah.
I was like,
burritos. This is a great idea.
Had burritos the other day, like 2 days ago. We did home.
I had a burrito for lunch today.
Oh, I love burritos. We did homemade burritos. Well, I say we. Mom did. That's the nice thing about being home.
Mom made food.
Mom made food.
I love it.
Yeah. Although I made burgers for us the other day.
Ooh, love a good burger. Funnily enough, I also had a burger for dinner today.
Oh, burgers are so good. Me and my mom had the Beyond Meat ones, and my dad and my brother had... See, this is how much I pay attention to the meat that goes on in my family. I have no clue. I don't know, some kind of beef burger, but like Angus beef, I think? I don't know.
Ah, Angus beef's good.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, what you get from the grocery store. Like, not too fancy, but it does the job and it tastes good.
Angus is like the American version of Wagyu. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it's like the American graded system of like the beef that we produce, I guess, both in Canada and here. So that's like the American equivalent, although it doesn't get graded anywhere near as high as Wagyu does. That's pretty much the American equivalent.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, I'm in Alberta, so Alberta beef is like a huge thing here.
Yeah, Alberta beef is pretty much world renowned.
Yeah. So it was Alberta beef.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that like is very interesting to me, is because obviously where I grew up in the UK, it was lamb that was like the delicacy. Or like if you were fancy, then pheasant. But
interesting.
I don't think I've ever had pheasant. But pheasant kind of grosses me out because I don't think anybody does it anymore. But you used to like hang it from the barn after you've bled it, and like when it drops off, like when it has just like deteriorated enough to fall from the ceiling, then that's when it's good to eat. Like I don't know. I think it has something to do with the fact that it's so like greasy, like duck, but I don't really know. That's just the rumors that I've heard, and I'm fairly certain that was back when like pubs were called taverns. So
shit like that intrigues me.
Yeah,
because somebody somewhere had to try that.
It makes me think that it's like the rich dude at the farm was like the manor house owner, the lord or whatever of the land, was like, I only eat fresh pheasant. And then one day some poor horse muck cleaner dude forgot a pheasant in the back that was hanging behind like behind the door or something. And then like a week later it's fallen from the ceiling and he's like, well, I gotta eat, so I'm just gonna eat rich people's pheasant because I've never had it before. Because the Lord only likes his fresh pheasant. And then he was like, this is actually pretty good. And then he started bragging about it. And then the Lord was like, And rumors spread up to the Lord, and he was like, this is a new delicacy because everyone's saying it's the best thing ever, because obviously they'd never had pheasant before. So they're saying it's the best thing that they've ever eaten. So I'm going to say that, like, Emperor's New Clothes kind of thing, like, this is the best thing ever. And then he goes and tells all those rich buds that if you are a true lord or lady of the land, then you would eat pheasant that's fallen from the ceiling after a month. And then they all eat it and all get sick. But they still believe that that's the delicacy to have it. That's my theory.
I think there's somewhere in like an Arctic climate, if I'm not mistaken, or it might not even be Arctic, but there's a climate where there's a particular bird that you take and you bury into the ground for a few months. And then after a while, you dig it up and then you eat it.
Interesting.
Which again begs the whole point of somebody somewhere had to be the first person to try this. And was it an experiment?
Yeah. Oh, did they forget? And then remember and be like, hey, what happened to that thing?
But still, somebody ate it, and
That's
it became like a tradition. Like, this is what you eat.
But it's like,
on
I
this
love the
specific
story.
Holiday.
Yeah, it's like, I love the story of Worcestershire sauce. Of literally that. Like, they had a sauce that they left in the basement, and it just stayed in the cellar for like years. And then they went back to it, and it had fermented, and they were like, we should try this, and it tasted good. And they were like, this is good, we should sell it. And it was like, that's how Worcestershire sauce started. They forgot about it in the cellar for like years, and then they tried it. I mean, I'm glad
that
they did.
explains that taste.
Yeah, I'm glad they did, because it's good. But like, also, you weirdo, don't eat things that have been in the basement for like months.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, it's very good, but also harkens back to somebody had to try that.
Yeah,
I don't get it. The innate thing that the human composition comes to whenever it comes to its ability to survive and also its innate stupidity just never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah.
Also, I've begun my yearly rewatch of Your Lie in April.
And are you dead yet?
Not yet. So we have decided to, so myself and my buddy Nick decided that Wednesdays we're just going to sit through it till we get done with it.
Okay.
And this is Nick's first time that he has seen it.
Okay.
So you can obviously see where I'm being the asshole here.
Yeah, we're going to have to get weekly updates on this until you've finished.
Well, so we got halfway through it this past Wednesday, so we're going to wrap it up this coming Wednesday. Okay. So I will get you an update whenever we record on Thursday on how he's doing.
Sounds good. Oh, my mom says hi, by the way.
Oh, hi, Mom.
I'll let her know.
I feel like that's all it is just us saying hi back and forth.
It honestly is, yeah.
But it's fine. That's me with pretty much everyone because I am an introverted asshole.
Same. There are people that I haven't messaged on Instagram for like years and I still consider them close friends. Like, it's dumb.
Right? And, it's something that I've toyed with because as someone who is extremely introverted and also has a lot of self-confidence issues, I bring myself to the question sometimes of, there are all of these people that I consider close friends. But how do they view me?
Oh, I hate that.
And
yeah.
I get it. Like, part of me in my brain knows that they feel the exact same way about me. Mm-hmm. But also,
it's
there's still that bit of me that's like, no.
Yeah.
You're overselling yourself a bit there, mate.
Yeah. Well, it's like I was on TikTok the other day, and sometimes I come across these like dramatic reenactments of like stories of people's lives, or just like short story times. And there was this one of this woman who was saying that she had been, her best friend or whatever was, I think it was like an "Am I the asshole" thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was saying that her friend, someone who she considered a really, really close friend, was getting married, and she wasn't asked to be part of the bridal party. And that made her feel really upset because she considered that person a really, really close friend. And it's becoming clearer and clearer to her as like the wedding progresses that she isn't considered as close a friend to that person as she is. So she was like trying to figure out how to like whether or not she should verbalize that she's upset, or like does that make her like, is she an asshole for like being like, why am I not part of your bridal party, But she was like, I don't know how to navigate this because she would have been like the top of my list if I was getting married and having bridesmaids. Like, she's always been like the number one in my head as who I would go to. But it's becoming very, very clear to me that I'm not even in like her top 5, 10, And I was like, oh my God, that sucks. I feel so bad for you. She ended up being very nice and respectful, and like I think she was a really good person. But it's just like, oh my God, I could not imagine. That is so stressful.
And it's one of those things too, like as someone who has been a part of quite a few weddings and have already been invited to be part of weddings in the future, it's one of those things that stands out to me of, although I've been in a lot of wedding parties, I've never been the best man.
Yeah.
And yet I know whenever it comes time for me to eventually get married, I would have a really fucking hard time choosing who my best man would be. And so I sit back and think, and I'm like, shit ain't fucking fair.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's like one of the things with the twins is that I've always said that I get to do their something blue because they're the ones who gave me the nickname Blue. So it's like, you know the rhyme, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue.
Yeah.
For good luck. And I was like, I get to do your blue. You gave me the nickname, that's it. But we've also always joked that I'm the type of person to just get hitched in Vegas by an Elvis, like it's never...
I could see that.
Yeah, it's never been a big deal for me, like marriage, because I don't think because I'm not religious as well, I don't have I never grew up going to church on Sundays or anything like that, so I don't have that religious aspect to it, which I feel like there's not a lot of it, but there's plenty of non-religious people who want the big white wedding. But I didn't have that weekly ritual of going every week and experiencing those things as a young age. And I've only been to a couple of weddings, and I don't know, it's not really something that I would ever do. So I don't think that I have to worry about picking people for my bridal party. But then I'm also very aware that weddings aren't necessarily for yourself as well. Quite often weddings are for family members. So if I had a partner that was their family was very big into very traditional, big into weddings or whatever, or if they had a different culture to me, maybe they're I don't know, Indian or something, and it's a very different experience than what I imagine, then maybe I'd be more down. But right now, the idea of a big white wedding just terrifies me.
Well, it's one of those things to where I'm right there with you. I don't want a grandstand wedding or anything along those lines, because that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm a very introverted asshole to where I want to crawl into my skin and fucking die whenever people are singing happy birthday to me.
Yeah.
That is the most awkward shit on the fucking planet.
Or when they watch you open presents. Ugh.
Yeah. And especially, I don't know if y'all have dealt with that on Christmas or not, but I know here, whenever, or at least we used to, everybody would have to open their gifts one at a time. They would hand one out, you open it, everybody's like, ooh, okay, on to the next one. No, just let everybody open their shit all at once, so that way not everybody's eyes are on it. It just, that kind of shit bothers me. So especially whenever it comes to weddings, that's just not me. And if it's a cultural aspect, I get it, because I know in quite a few cultures, weddings are absolutely massive and so important to the culture. Whereas I think here in the States, it's just a giant fucking marketing scheme, with engagement rings and shit like that. It's all just marketing that has come together in a capitalist society of how much fucking money can we make off of this one thing.
Yeah.
But again, that's just me. I don't know if that's me projecting my own hatred towards awkwardness onto something.
Yeah.
Or
no, I get it. Like I said, I come from a family that isn't too big into weddings. My parents, they both got married at the registry office, and then they went and had a party at a pub, and that was it. They both dressed up nice, but my mom and dad say that the couple that got married ahead of them just got married in jeans and a t-shirt. So they didn't spend a lot of
Tony
money.
Cowell wedding.
So they didn't spend a lot of money on their wedding itself, but then they had a month-long honeymoon here in Canada where they rented an RV and drove across the whole country. And to me, that seems so much more appealing, is spending your money on the honeymoon and getting experience, or having maybe I can see those people that have a destination wedding with their parents and siblings and one or two close friends, and they go out and then they have a holiday with their friends, and then after a week their friends go home, and then they spend another week just as the couple, that seems
it's one of those things to where if it were up to me, I would want to get married in Japan, under the cherry blossoms and the giant cherry blossom park. And it'd just be me, my partner, and official, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
And then we could do a reception whenever we get back.
Yeah.
That way everybody could like get to experience like the party and the gift giving and all that other shit that kind of comes with it.
Yeah.
But again, for me, like I would much rather get the experience of like not having to do all the awkward shit in front of a group of people, and also get to do it in my opinion, what is the most beautiful setting you could possibly get married under.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But again, everybody's got their own ideas whenever it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah. And then again, going back to the who would be your best man conversation, it would be really useful, I guess, if your best man and the maid of honor were also a couple. So if they came to Japan, then they could split off and do their own thing and it wouldn't be like weird.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that would definitely work.
Yeah. Anyway, we went on a real tangent there.
Yeah, that is probably the most far out tangent that we could have possibly have went on this podcast, with like little bitty anime bits sprinkled in.
Yes, yeah.
Tie it together.
Yeah, how did we get here? Yule and April, I think it was. How did Yule and April end up in weddings? I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, awkward friendships. But wait, how did that? Oh no, I don't remember how we got here.
We're talking about fly fishing anime this week.
That's what we are, yeah. So Slow Loop is the anime that we're covering this week.
Yeah, so Slow Loop is considered a sports anime. Not shocking, I guess. I mean, it's more recreational fishing, but it technically falls into the sports category, so we're going to roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
The manga was written by Maiko Uchino.
Mm-hmm.
It's a seinen. It's currently running. It began September 22nd of 2018 and has a total of 6 volumes. The anime was directed by Noriaki Akitaya.
Mm-hmm.
It's made by Studio Connect, who is known for things like Death March and a Parallel World Rhapsody, and Oresuki being a harem anime that I have seen a few episodes of, but dropped for some reason or another. I think it was just because, if I remember correctly, and for some reason, whenever I saw that name and looked it up, it reminded me of you. So I think I've talked to you about that anime before. Does that ring a bell?
Not the name, but maybe some imagery would.
So the biggest thing I remember about it is the bench.
Yes.
Okay, so you and I have had this discussion before.
Yeah.
Where the dude, where he constantly gets brought to the bench. It's like the bench is following him around, and anytime he goes to confess to a girl, it's just like, no, only think of you as a friend. Like the dude constantly gets shut down by every chick that he thinks he's going to confess to, and there's always the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like a weird fucking harem anime. Looking back on it now, what I have in my brain makes me think it's fucking hilarious. But at the time, I was like, this is weird. Why am I watching this?
I think our senses of humor over the years of watching anime has just gotten weirder and weirder and weirder.
I think the podcast has warped us too, to where I feel like we don't take things as seriously, but also more seriously. Yeah,
we're more critical of serious things, but we're also able to just enjoy things for their dumbness.
So listen, you want to rewatch Dive?
Honestly, I think we would have a very different experience watching Dive now.
You're right. -5 out of 10.
Oh, you. Oh, you.
All right. And the original run of Slow Loop was from January 7th, 2022 to March 25th of 2022 for a total of 12 episodes.
Yeah, so it's just gotten wrapped up. If you are interested in watching it, you can find it on Funimation. Yeah, I think that's kind of the key one.
That's it. That's the only place that you are able to find it.
Yeah, well,
and keep in mind, do not sign up for a Funimation subscription whenever it comes to watching this, because Funimation technically doesn't exist anymore, so you can technically watch it for free.
Yes, if there's like a free month trial or whatever on Funimation, I don't know if there is, but if there is, do that.
Do that. Do not pay for a Funimation subscription. Funimation is swatching. For some reason, it was like switching and flopping, so just swatching. So anyway, with Funimation merging with Crunchyroll, let's put it in business terms for a moment.
There's a merger.
Be sure to cancel. Fuck, I can speak. I'm not tired. Be sure to cancel your Funimation subscription and flop over to Crunchyroll.
Yes, do that. Yeah, okay, so surprisingly, Slow Loop is, well, I suppose, okay, not too surprisingly, is a PG-13.
What?
Yeah, I mean, there are some, like, I wouldn't say adult jokes, but, like, some, I don't know.
There's alcohol.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of is what really pushes it.
Yeah, it's
like alcohol, people getting drunk.
I think it was the same thing with Laid Back Camp. Laid Back Camp was a PG-13 as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think it is just the act of camping with alcohol that makes it a PG-13. But if, like, again, parental discretion is advised, in my opinion, this is fine for all ages.
Yeah, like anybody can enjoy it. Now, this one does deal with death a little bit.
Yes.
Now, like, nobody dies.
During
the two main characters are brought together due to deaths on both sides of the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, again, it deals with death in that kind of way. You never see it. There's no gore.
It's like reminiscing over it and bonding over it.
Yeah, so I guess just because it broaches the topic of death as well and it's talked about, I could see that potentially being another reason as well. I feel like the show can be enjoyed by everyone. The older audience will appreciate it because of how deep the show gets.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the show has a lot of depth behind its cute characters and overall, like, fishing arc.
Yeah, but there's enough antics in there as well for, like, a younger audience to be entertained.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. The characters' personalities, like surface level, kids would absolutely have a ball over. The show's brilliant for everyone.
Yeah, okay. So it is rated. This is one of the rare shows that is actually rated higher on My Anime List than it is on Anime Planet. Not by much, but there is a slight difference. Yeah, so on Anime Planet is a 3.6 out of 5 or a 7.2 out of 10. And on My Anime List, it's a 7.26 out of 10. So rounding to a 7.3. So that's very, very rare. The vast majority of the time, Anime Planet is like 0.5 to a whole point higher than My Anime List. So that's interesting to me, especially because Anime Planet has less interaction. Like, most people use My Anime List. Like, a good example is that this one has been voted on 14,253 times on My Anime List, but on Anime Planet, it's only been voted on 527 times. So there's quite, like, thousands of difference there, quite a big difference. But it's very interesting to me that My Anime List is higher because normally it's much more critical on My Anime List, which it gets the more results. So that's just something to bear in mind that is unique about this anime. It has a dropped rate right now. Again, this is another one of those ones that it's only been out for a couple of months. This drop rate is probably going to fluctuate between now and the end of the year, when I'll go back through and do the whole drop rate again, just update all of them and see what our drop rate order is for our awards at the end of the year. Right now, it's sitting at a 12.88%. So that's quite high, but I'm not shocked about that because it's very niche.
It's very niche. It is incredibly, like, it had no fanfare going into it. I was just captivated the second I saw a screenshot of fly fishing, and I was like, we're watching this.
Yeah. And I think that if you like slice of life animes, if you enjoyed a laid back camp, if you like comfy, cozy, like just like you don't have to pay attention to the story. Like, I was painting whilst watching this, and it's not dubbed right now, so it's subbed. Even just listening to it, I could tell what was going on. Like, I could tell when the seasons were changing, and then, like, I would glance up and, like, I would know what was happening, because it is 12 episodes, but it does go through an entire year. So it's one of those stories where it is linear. There is a linear story to it, but it's more like with Laid Back Camp, how each episode is kind of them going camping at one time. This is very similar, them going on a fishing trip pretty much per episode. So it expands a good portion of time. So yeah, it's based around our main character, Hiyori, who her mother is getting remarried. And is that a spoiler?
No.
Not really. First episode.
I don't think you can fucking spoil anything about the show.
Yeah.
It's very laid back camp. It's fishing and introduction of new characters. Like there's nothing really new brought about the show.
No. So it's based around Hiyori, and her dad was a very avid fisher, but he passed away when she was quite young, so he didn't get to teach her a lot more than just fly fishing. He said that he would teach her like how to fish on like a boat, and like sea fishing, deep sea fishing and stuff when she got older, but she was too young at the time, so she only learned fly fishing, and so it's kind of her experiencing her friends and her new life with her new step family, and her learning more about fishing, and then just like shenanigans at school and during the summer and on going on break and going camping. And it is majority cast girls, but unlike Laid Back Camp, it's not 100% girls. There are some like younger males and older males throughout the story. Because I think Laid Back Camp doesn't have any males in it at all, does it?
I don't. I mean, other than the main character, I think is it Reen?
Yeah.
I think other than Reen's grandfather, that's primarily it.
And
like every now and then there might be one.
Yeah. Whereas this has some more, I won't say like
this
lead characters, but definitely secondary
figures.
Characters that are male. And that's probably the biggest difference between this and Laid Back Camp. The shenanigans are very similar. The characters are very similar. The character design is similar. One thing I will note about this anime is the profiles of the face were very interesting to me, because Go ahead. You go.
No, you.
Okay, fine.
No, you.
Okay. But the noses were very interesting, the way that they had been drawn, because it's like forehead and then it slopes down to a nose, just like a ski slope, or like, I don't know, just the slope points up to a nose, and then from the point of the nose down to the chin is just one line. So there's no like under the nose, like a nostril indentation. It's just tip of the nose down, which feels more like animal-esque in a way. Like I would imagine like you would do a hedgehog face very similar to that.
See, I think that design worked well considering how often the show ended up swapping to gag expressions.
Agreed. I think it worked very well, and I think it was very unique. It was one of those things that I definitely noticed while watching the show. It's like, that's cool. They have a unique art style.
And again, it was incredibly unique. Now, keep in mind, the background art is not as photorealistic as Laid Back Camps is, but everything fit. And whenever it went ham on the background art, it's like this show went fucking ham on the water.
Yes. Yeah.
So not so much with the scenery, but the water animation, fishing animation, and some of the animation it did on the rods and reels of the show too was excellent.
Yeah, there was a lot of really good detailed animation. Was there any CGI in it?
I think there was some,
but
it was very minimal, very little.
Yeah, the only time that I was like, is that CGI was, I think in episode 11 or something, when there's a shot of our main character who's reeling in a fish, and it's like a shot from the other side of the lake, and it looked a little CGI, and that's the one where I was like, is that CGI in this? I'll have to ask Brad, because you have a better eye at spotting it than I do.
The biggest CGI things that I noticed were the vehicles of any means, whether it be car and or. Here's one thing that kind of took me out of it for a little bit.
Okay.
Why the fuck did the fishing boats look like mini warships?
I don't remember what they look like.
They look like mini warships. And that bothered me. I don't know if that's how Japanese fishing boats are made. But my goodness, they look like warships.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know either. And again, it didn't really bother me too awful much.
Yeah, just took you out of the anime. That's a reason.
It took me out of it.
Yeah, that's important to note though. So with that, I'm going to check on the spoiler warning. Like we've said though, it's very hard to spoil this kind of anime because it's just like shenanigans and like the most that we could spoil would be the punchline of a joke, because there's not really much of a plot to spoil in a way. So I will say before the spoiler warning though, if you know nothing about fishing, this is very informative. If you know nothing about cooking fish, this is very informative. This has better recipes in it than Food Wars. So,
depends though.
They're properly
Food Wars anime, yes. Food Wars manga, no.
Okay, fair point. But they're properly like, you need a measurement of this to make it. So I think that's another one of the reasons why this anime is so like casual viewing, is because it kind of is a let us teach you how to fish because we enjoy fishing a lot in a casual, fun manner. Like that's kind of what this feels like.
I mean, honestly, though, you can tell that this is kind of like a love story to fishing in a way because of the amount of detail that went into making the show, because it teaches you how to create your own flies. It teaches you how to put line on your rod, use a reel. And again, like Blue said, it teaches you how to cook and like how to properly prepare things.
It even like teaches about parasites and fish and stuff. Like,
yeah, and like how to fillet a fish. Like it teaches you so many different ways to go about like prepping and dealing with fish. It was just brilliant.
Yeah, and it covers quite a lot of fishing as well. So although it's kind of described as a fly fishing anime, that's only because that's where the main character starts at. There is progression through other different types of fishing throughout the rest of the anime as well. So bear that in mind. But yeah, that's where I'm going to put on the full spoiler warning on here. It will make you want to go outside though, so
be prepared to want to go fishing after this.
I less so much the fishing for me, more the flask of hot drink outside where it's cold.
I actually just want to go fry fish.
Just fry fish. Yeah. No, I've never been a fan of fish, even when I ate meat. And the fact that I grew up in England, you think I would have quite a palate for fish, but it's never been my favorite.
See, I'm a big fan of fish. I'm a big fan of salmon. I love salmon, especially fresh salmon. Grill it. Oh, so good.
Yeah, my brother and my dad like cod. I know that's like I think that's just what you traditionally have at a fish and chippy though, so.
Cod is good deep fried. Things like bass are extremely good deep fried as well. So a lot of it kind of depends on the fish and how you want to prepare it. I know mahi-mahi goes well for tacos if you grill it and blacken it. Mahi-mahi is delicious.
Yeah, I've always been much more of a shellfish person. I remember getting crab sticks on the beach when I was like 5 or 6 and just eating, like, you know, like kids have like ice lollies or popsicles. that one took a while for me to translate. I would have crab sticks. That's what I'd have on the beach all the time. They were my favorite. And I've always been a fan of prawn and scampi and shrimps, and like that's where my fish palate goes more than big fish.
I'm a huge fan of shellfish as well. Crab is delicious. Lobster is delicious. Shrimp. I could go buy a whole bag of frozen shrimp, defrost those bitches, and just munch them. Whole bag by myself. 150 shrimp. Fuck it. It's gone.
Honestly, I could have as well before I became vegetarian. My granddad, he was a pescatarian, and I get it. I get it because shellfish is very tempting to me.
I very much considered going pescatarian, but now due to inflation, fish very expensive. So no.
Yes, yeah. I think the only way that it's reasonable to be a pescatarian in today's market is if you live in a beachside town and you have easy access. Like that's kind of the only real way where it's like, I don't know, I couldn't imagine on today's economy just like running out and grabbing fish for dinner every day. That's so expensive.
Yeah, like if you can't go down to a fresh fish market, nah, fam, not today.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so back to the show. Before we go on another tangent, we've been tangent central today.
Pretty much. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how adorable is Koharu?
Oh, so stinking cute. So dumb.
She is very much like the Megumi, or what is the name of the pink-haired girl from Laid Back Camp?
I shall look it up because I cannot remember.
Because she's like a dead ringer for like right in between the two.
Yeah. My brain just went to shit. Just gone. All gone.
What's new?
Narishiko.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not a very memorable name.
Not a very memorable name, but she lives in my brain rent-free anytime I think about camping.
Yes.
Or also anytime I yawn, because anytime I'm tired and somebody tries to get something out of me, I have that gif of her yawning waiting on the train, and I will send that to them.
Yeah, I was going to say she comes to mind whenever I think about gifs, so...
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is probably due to me sending that shit a lot.
Yeah, honestly, this is... Well, yeah, you, but like this show, Laid Back Camp, and Tanaka-kun are like gif central.
Oh my god, I'm so glad you brought up Tanaka-kun. I have to go off on another rant.
Okay.
Tanaka-kun is no longer on Crunchyroll, and neither is the first 3 seasons of Food Wars.
What?
So, you know how all of the shows are licensed by Sentai Filmworks, correct?
Yeah.
So, with the merger of Crunchyroll and Funimation, Sentai has decided to pull all of their licensing and move all of their shit over to High Dive, considering they are a subsidiary of AMC. So, if you want to watch Tanaka-kun again, or Food Wars, like once the licensing on seasons 4 and 5 of Food Wars run out, you gotta go get yourself a High Dive subscription or buy the Blu-ray DVD box sets of those shows to be able to watch them going forward.
All right. Well, that's frustrating, to say the least.
Yeah, I figured you would have issues with that,
I have big issues.
Yeah, so I figured I would bring that to your attention just because I meant to talk about that last week and I forgot because we haven't done a news segment because I haven't been keeping up with a lot of news segments. I have some that I deem important. That one was important. It just slipped my mind because I didn't have any photo notes in my phone.
I just checked Canadian Netflix.
I figured that conversation.
I was like hopeful that it might be there, but it's not.
Don't talk to me about Netflix right now with those bastards taking off Your Lie in April.
Honestly, all of the best shows are being ripped from their homes.
It upsets me, but thank God Crunchyroll has both the sub and dub of Your Lie in April. And, you know, after going back and watching Your Lie in April subbed again for whenever we covered it and then rewatching the dub while we're going through for Nick, it has just really been brought to my attention how much care went into the dubbing of that show. The voice actors and actresses for that show were cast beautifully to where they are very, very, very similar to the Japanese dubbing.
That's good. I'm glad about that. It makes me wonder about whether or not the voice actors themselves listen to the sub and try and replicate the cadence.
I think a lot of that has to do with the dubbing director. I think that's kind of like the biggest part of it because some shows do a good job with it. Some shows do a poor job with it. And in fact, they do such a poor job with it that the lip dubbing, if not redone, looks terrible. But in the case of Your Lie in April, like they casted beautifully to where it sounds similar. The cadence and everything flows beautifully. So again, it was just a tangent that I felt like I needed to go on while I'm still trying to figure out how the fuck to write a script for upcoming YouTube content. So be sure to look out for that on the YouTube channel. But it's shit that I'm like majorly trying to pay attention to. And it's also shit like that just absolutely blows my mind with the amount of care that goes into some shows versus others that just don't get that level of treatment. And I don't know if it's because of budget. I don't know if it's because of casting decisions. I don't know what it is. But the fact that some shows pull it off flawlessly, and I guess that's why shows like that sit in my all-time favorites, whereas others that do a poor job of recreating it don't. I don't know. It's just shit like that gets me.
Yeah. Well, good to do the shout out for recognition. I would be interested to see if they would ever dub Slow Loop. I don't know if did they end up dubbing Layback Camp? Was it popular enough?
I don't know. It's extremely popular though. So if they haven't dubbed it, I don't know why they haven't yet. I don't know if it was just extremely popular in Japan. Because I mean, at this point, my way of telling whether or not something is huge over here is TikTok.
Right.
So that TikTok is pretty much my way of like trying to figure out which shows to keep up with as far as like a week to week thing goes, except for I decided to throw all of that shit out of the water and decide that I'm going to watch so much shit week to week right now to where by the time this week is over, I will be watching 12 week to week.
Yeah, you're crazy.
I'm watching so much shit, but it's fine. I'm having a blast. They have just absolutely spoiled us this spring. I think we've got like 29 new anime coming out weekly.
What?
And I'm watching at least a third. So
nice.
We're having a good time.
Hiccuped.
Yeah, so anyway, fly fishing.
Yes. Okay, so I don't really think that it's super necessary for us to go through and talk about this linearly, episode by episode.
I would just say, honestly, we should just almost like in essence give like our overall thoughts and final thoughts on it and then just kind of give a grading at the end.
Yeah, kind of. There are some very like I want to say key moments, but there are moments that stand out in my brain of like being fun times. Like the cultural festival was one where I was like, oh, well, of course there's a cultural episode.
It's a slice of life anime. Of course there's going to be a
festival.
Autumn festival.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm surprised that there wasn't a Hanabi festival chucked in there as well. But there was mentions of goldfish caught at Hanabi festivals.
I mean, hey, it's close enough.
Yeah.
It got mentioned.
Yeah. And goldfish eat their own eggs.
Sorry, my brain died. Do what?
Goldfish eat their own eggs.
The snack that smiles back?
Goldfish.
Oh, what has this podcast evolved into?
I was just going to say the pizza ones. The pizza flavored goldfish. The salt and vinegar ones are really weird. I don't think
I don't like salt and flavored anything.
I do. I think we spoke about this on last week's episode, how I have it with chocolate.
I feel like we've had this conversation multiple times.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel like you and I used to have this debate quite a bit with Pixels back whenever you streamed. Like, I feel like we would go to war over shit like that in the chat.
Yeah, my favorite crisp flavor of all time is prawn cocktail.
My least favorite is ketchup.
You best be quiet about that around Canadians.
Hey, these hands are rated E for everyone. I don't give a shit. Ketchup chips suck.
I like them. They're not my favorite, but I'll eat them.
You know what? To smooth things over with the Canadians, as a hill I will die on, maple syrup really isn't that bad.
That isn't that bad.
I personally hate it just because I got food poisoning and that was the last thing I ate before said food poisoning kicked in. Okay. So I cannot stomach maple syrup. However, I understand the appeal, so it's not really that bad.
Do you like corn syrup? Like Aunt Jemima's?
No. Anything syrupy is just dead to me.
Even like fruit syrups?
Yes.
You want to have like Saskatoon berry syrup?
Honey is as close to a syrup as I'll get to putting on anything or in anything.
What about like Italian sodas where they put the
hell is in Italian soda?
It's like a sweet syrup. Like what are those things that you have like that where you get shaved ice and then you put a syrup on top? What's that called?
Shaved ice?
Is that just what it's called? A snow cone.
Yeah, like we literally call it shaved ice or snow cone. I guess it kind of depends. Or we used to. So back in my childhood.
Back in the day.
Because I'm about to date myself for, and again, this could be a thing to where it could just be a Southern Tennessee thing and the rest of the world has them. Like y'all assholes still having Fruitopia and we can't get that shit here in the States and I'm still upset over that.
I got some in my fridge right now.
I'm upset. Anyway, so we had things called slush puppies growing up.
Yeah, I had them in the UK as well. I don't know if they are out of business in the UK, but yeah.
Yeah, so slush puppies, to the younger audience that has no clue what they are, slush puppies were slushies or snow cones or however the hell you want to call them, where you get a cup at the convenience store, you pull a little nozzle to where it shoots a bunch of liquid ice into your cup, and then you get to put pumps of the most tart, sour, but delicious fruit-flavored syrup into your drink. And it got to the point to where I guess the syrup got so expensive to where you were allowed no more than 2 pumps of syrup in your drink.
I was going to say, a lot of the ones in the UK were pre-mixed, so the syrup was already in the machine, and then you would pull, like a slushie, you would pull the lever and it would come out. And they were still branded slush puppies.
So that's what we went to. Yeah, so they swapped over to the pre-mix kind, I guess, whenever they phased out the slush puppies. But God, I remember in my childhood going and then being the asshole that paid absolutely zero attention to the 2 pump rule, would wait till the gas station clerk was like not paying attention and then just pump the shit out of the blue raspberry, because the rest of the flavors were okay, but the blue raspberry was the most tart out of the flavors. I would put so much in there to where if I even sniffed it, my face would contort from how sour it was, let alone taking a sip.
Yeah, see, lime's a huge...
God, I miss those days.
Lime's a huge flavor in the UK, so we used to get lime ones as well. And they were always really sharp. But yes...
Yeah, the lime flavor was good, but that blue raspberry, man, it just hit different.
Yeah. Yeah, so funnily enough, slush puppies for a certain generation in the UK has just become like the term for slushies. So you know how like tissues are just kind of referred to as Kleenex by a lot of people?
And a lot of sodas are just called Coke, especially in the South.
In the UK, there's a couple versions of that, and slush puppy is one of them. Like, all slushies are just referred to as slush puppy because of that specific brand. There's also vacuums are called Hoovers because of Henry Hoover.
I feel like we've talked about that before.
Probably, yeah. So,
like that particular instance, anyway.
Yeah. So it's both a noun and a verb. Like you do Hoover.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a very similar state here as well whenever it comes to slush puppies, because since things have went over to the pre-mixed version and it's always the blue raspberry and the cherry, like those are the only 2 flavors that are available now. And even now, those flavors taste nothing like the original. But whenever I talk to people, and especially people younger than me, about slush puppy, they're like, yeah, we had it. And I'm like, no, the fuck you didn't.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah, I feel the same way as well, especially since the sugar tax in the UK. I guaranteed if I went back there, they wouldn't taste anywhere near the same.
Probably not.
Yeah, because there was, at my local swimming pool, there was a little section where the parents used to sit, and it was like a cafe that was never open, but one of the things that they did have available was a slush puppy machine. And like genuinely, I don't think I'd ever been to the swimming pool when the cafe was open, but the slush puppy machine was open on rare occasions. And I remember going to the swimming pool and being like, I want one. It was one of those things that I couldn't get every time. I think I probably had it maybe twice in my entire life, and I went to that swimming pool pretty frequently. And it was like the biggest of treats as a small child.
Love that.
Yeah. Nostalgia. Let us know if you've ever had a slush puppy at home.
Yeah. Also, let us know if you had the original or the newer version.
Yeah, and what is your favorite flavor?
Yeah, or just in general, what's your favorite snow cone / slushy / slush puppy?
Italian soda. We rambled. An Italian soda is, I think it's pretty much just sparkling water, but I'm not sure if it's like anything different or if it's like, I don't know, but it's basically carbonated beverage. I think it's just carbonated water, and then they put in basically slush puppy syrup into
interesting.
It. Yeah, and so you go like, I don't know, it's at certain like small family run cafes, occasionally you'll get an Italian soda. I think it's because it's easier for them to upkeep as opposed to having a soda machine, and it's fancy as well, so they can up the charge. Because then they can have like their wall of coffee syrups and then their wall of Italian soda syrups, and then it's just sparkling water with shit in it. Yeah, I think it's sparkling water. I don't know. In my head, it's sparkling water.
Sparkling water is fucking outrageous.
I like
It's CO2 in water.
No, see, I understand that because I'm one of those people that every now and again when I'm drinking like a Coke or something, and I'm like, would I like the flavor if it wasn't carbonated? Like, genuinely, if I had this flat, would it taste good? And I'm like,
Okay, so Pepsi has come out
okay.
with a helium-infused Pepsi.
Oh.
And so I don't know if you've heard of, I think it's Guinness that's done like the helium-infused beer.
Okay.
To where it's not carbonated, it's flat, but it still tastes like a carbonated beverage, but it's just smooth. So apparently Pepsi has come out with its own variant of that to where it pours like that beer, like it even has the head on the top, but it's not fizzy, but apparently still tastes exactly like Pepsi. And so I really want to go hunt that down just to try it, solely for the fact of, like you just said, I'm curious.
Yeah. Well, because like in my brain, the carbonation shouldn't change the taste. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's just TV static, essentially, in a beverage.
So if I don't like it when it's not carbonated, does that mean I don't like the drink and I'm just drinking it because it's fizzy?
Well, as someone who enjoys water but hates the taste of carbonated water as itself, I think it would just depend on the certain type of beverage. Now, I will drink carbonated water if I put flavoring in it, like Mio. Especially the caffeine Mio, because that shit is wonderful.
For our UK listeners, he means squash.
That's a vegetable. That's going to be a whole tangent in and of itself.
Yeah.
This whole episode has been a tangent. My apologies. I am really fucking tired as we sit here and record this. No, it's after fucking midnight.
It's honestly just that the squash Mio situation is just one of my biggest marketing, like, mind-blown situations and or pet peeves to have ever existed. And I'll explain it to you after your story. But yeah.
No, we've definitely had the conversation before. I'd solely just bring that up just because I know it gets you flustered. So why would I not?
But for those listening who haven't heard the episode, I just have to explain this because it's literally like it's a complete marketing genius, but it also makes me rip my hair out. So there's this thing in the UK that's been a thing for my entire life, my parents' entire lives, like probably over 100 years now, and it's just squash. It is it's not a brand of drink, it's a style of drink. If you've had, like, Ribena is probably the most international version of squash, which is a blackcurrant flavored concentrated fruit juice beverage. It's like sugary, syrupy. It's basically a syrup, a concentrated fruit syrup thing. I don't know. And you have it in the UK. It's very common. It's like mainly water, and then you put a little bit of squash on the bottom of your glass, and then you put water in, and it's like a fruit drink for kids. And when we refer to squash, like, we're talking about all of that. And there's a couple big brands. There's like Robinson, and there's Ribena, and there's a couple other big brands that do it, and they come in juice boxes, and you have them in your packed lunch at school, and you get served them on like sports days and stuff. You'll have like parents handing out like cups of squash, like it's like the biggest drink that you give out to kids like just constantly in the UK. And then in North America that it didn't exist. And when we immigrated, I was like, oh my God, squash doesn't exist. What am I going to do? Everyone has juice instead. And it's like fruit juice or like Fruitopia, which is kind of fruit juice, but also isn't, or like a Minute Maid where it's concentrated fruit juice. And then, and that was like very bizarre to me that squash didn't exist. And then after about 5 years of living here, I started seeing Mio, and there was another brand. I can't remember what it was. Oh, I think it was like Kool-Aid, but Kool-Aid started doing liquid sachets as opposed to just the powder. And they were branding it as this like new revolutionary thing that didn't exist, and they were calling it like have Mio in your drink, and we're trying to rebrand it as like to make it like a Hoover vacuum, a Kleenex tissue kind of situation. And all of us Brits are saying here going, you just invented squash. You've repackaged and rebranded squash. Anyway, that's my tangent. It's been a thing. It is a thing you can buy in huge bottles in the UK rather than just these stupid little one-use tablet things that they have over here that are so bad for the environment. Anyway, okay. Tangent over.
So, OPs and EDs.
Okay.
What'd you think?
I think Wii Sports Resort.
I see it, especially that opening bit. I get it, 100%. I see it.
I was telling Brad about this earlier. I was listening to this show. It was on Funimation, as it is, whilst I was doing my painting. And of course, Funimation has an autoplay mode, which, by the way, freaking pisses me off that it takes you out of full screen mode when it autoplays to the next episode.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, no other one does that.
I think it depends, though. Like, if you have it on true full screen mode,
yeah, it was on.
Then it might do it.
It was on full screen mode.
Yeah, so I have mine on full screen, but not like full screen, if that makes sense, to where you still have like the border of whatever browser you're watching just up in the corner. But the rest of the screen is it. And I don't have that issue. It's literally only like the full-on full screen mode where you get that.
But why?
So don't click the extra full screen button.
But I like it being extra full screen mode, because otherwise when it's like a dark screen, especially if you're like watching something that's like a horror or something where it's like mainly the majority of your screen is black, then you end up with like your white tab on the top.
Then just change your tab color to black.
But then when you have a bright sunny scene, then you have a black edge. I don't like it. I want it to just remain in full screen mode, and it pigs me off. It pisses me off and bugs me is what I was going to say, and I ended up with pigs me off.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay, yes. I was watching it. It was going through, so I ended up listening to the OP and ED a lot more than I normally do, because normally I'll just skip through them.
I'm so proud of you.
And as I was doing it, my ADHD was going crazy. I was like, what does this remind me of? What is this noise? And I was like, it's Wii Sports. And I was like, nah, it's not. It's Wii Sports Resort. And so I went and I looked up the YouTube video. And that's like, okay, so you type in Wii Sports Resort theme or Wii Sports theme. And on YouTube, the first results that come up are like 10-hour long repetitive Wii Sports Resort music. I'm like, who is listening to this for 10 hours long? Like,
so with that being said, do you want to hear one final like funny story?
Yes.
So among our streamer friend group, we have started a new tradition of anytime somebody falls asleep in the Discord call, we move them to a specific channel called This Motherfucker is Asleep. And we get the Me6 bot to pop into the chat and play like an 8-hour long lullaby.
Oh.
It's the most brilliant thing that anybody has ever come up with, and it's a running gag now. Anytime somebody leaves their PC on and walks away for long enough and goes to bed or does something, they immediately get put to sleep.
That's funny.
I love it so much.
We haven't
we
haven't even really discussed the show much. We've just been rambling.
But also, we've talked a lot about the show in the sense of fly fishing.
Yes, yeah.
And also how adorable our main characters are and how in-depth the show goes with fishing. I mean, it's one of those things to where I can't stress it enough to where if the concept of the show interests you in any way, whether it be the fishing aspect or learning how to cook fish, go watch the show.
Yeah.
Like, it's worth a watch. It's so cozy. It's so easy to watch. It's something you could turn on a rainy day and just enjoy yourself with.
Yeah, 100%. I do. Like I said, though, it makes me want to get a flask of like coffee or hot chocolate and what do you call them? A thermos, and go outside and wrap myself in a blanket and sit on the porch. You know, I want to sit on the front porch and like have my flask and just like, sip while it's raining. That's what I want to do. But like with a book that smells like book.
Book that smells like book.
You know
Got
what I
it.
mean? Like some books smell like new, and then other books smell like book.
Yes. Got it. Books smell like book.
My bookworms out there will know what I mean.
No, I get what you mean, but books smell like book.
It makes sense, okay?
Hang on, let me pull up Twitter really quick. All right, tweet.
Yeah.
Quote: book smell like book.
Yeah, I want a book that
period.
smells like book.
End quote. return / at Blue Lavender 2022.
Yeah.
Tweet. Okay, anyway.
Cool.
You were saying.
But yeah, that's what this one is going to do. Also, there was cute dad and mom moments with kids. I feel like this. Okay, so it's a very common anime trope to have kids. I'll say anime and manga trope to have kids that are kind of thrust together in family situations when they don't know that it's happening, and it kind of feels like this is what happens in the show. We do get more context later on in the show where it's like actually there was discussion about it beforehand, but when you first start, it kind of feels like surprise, I'm getting married and you have a new sibling. And that's a very common anime trope. In this case, it wasn't so much like that, but it did kind of feel like that early on. But yeah, I do like the positive interactions that we get with step parents and step siblings throughout the show. I like the level of bonding that we get and the respect that is given to the deceased parties and to the kids. And I like the little moments of like learning about each other and learning how to be a proper family dynamic. Like, for instance, with the I want to go camping, I think it's I want to go on a fishing and camping trip, episode 9. I'm fairly certain that's the one where the girls want to go camping by themselves, but their dad or stepdad deems them to be it deems it to be unsafe and says no, and so they kind of start the episode of them protesting and then coming up with a plan to very similar to Laid Back Camp. I feel like they did something similar to that, as well as if you want to go a certain distance you have to have a good plan and yourself set up, and they do that in this show as well. And there's a cute little moment in there where the stepdad goes, I'm not just talking about my daughter here, I'm also talking about you, you've got to look after each other, and it was a really sweet little moment. Also, there was some shopping fun times. I did also want to say, ow, my shoulder.
I heard that. Stomach-chan is retired. We now have shoulder-chan.
Honestly. I did also want to say that I liked the addressing of hobbies are not gendered. That is a theme in this show. As a girl who was in Boy Scouts as a kid, I do kind of get the vibe of feeling a little bit uncomfortable telling your friends that you do a hobby that isn't necessarily for your gender. And I feel like this is something that is possibly more difficult for boys than it is for girls. I mean, obviously in this case you get the example of you're only doing that because you want the boys to like you, which is a common concept, but I do feel like it's more common to see a guy getting ripped to shreds for taking dance classes or something. So
with that being said, don't gatekeep anything. If it's not hurting them, it's not illegal, anything along those lines. Don't gatekeep. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah, and hobbies are not gendered, and so I feel like that was a good one to address. If you are a parent and you're listening to this and you have a kid that is maybe in a sport or activity or hobby or whatever that is not stereotypically connected to their gender or their gender identity, and are feeling a little bit out of sorts about it, I genuinely feel like this would be a good anime to be like, hey, you should watch this. It's really cute. You'll enjoy it. It's a good comfy time. And at the same time, it is promoting the thing of do what you do because it's fun, you know?
Agreed.
I don't actually know how many parents we get watching this, but I do like to address you. I bet there's one out there that's me, a parent.
Well, I know we had one reach out to us on Twitter that was like, hey, so I really I really like the show, all that, but definitely not something I can watch around my family because, we like to say fuck a lot.
Yeah, we are not a show that is PG.
No, we tried.
We did.
We made it through 2 episodes. Blue cussed the first time, and then after that opened the floodgates for me to say whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, honestly, I feel I also feel like it would be very difficult for us to have a PG show when a lot of the shows that we cover are not PG themselves. So I wouldn't want to market this as an anime podcast for all ages if we then recommend shows that are R-rated or whatever, because I feel like that's just going to attract a young audience that are going to be like, well, I'm going to watch it anyways, you know? So
well, also with YouTube being in the state that it's in, we got to be real careful about how we label these episodes for legal reasons too. So fuck it, not for kids.
No, I don't think this is for kids. I'm targeting this for adults and above, like adults and above. If you're above an adult, let me know, because I haven't met one yet, but
I mean, could above adults technically be senior citizens?
Oh, don't tell my dad that. He just turned 60.
That'd be fine.
I'll never hear the end of it. It'll be the worst. He'll be gloating.
Senior discounts.
Me and my mom were talking about that. We're going to drag him to all of the shops now, because we were at, where were we at the other day? I think we were at just like Value Village or something. And they were like, they said to my mom, do you qualify for the senior discount? My mom was like, not yet, a couple of years yet. And they were like, and then we were joking, my dad does though. And she was like, you should just put them in your pocket and drag them around. And I'm like, yeah, we need to do that now, because like that's a lot of money that's saved up throughout the year, you know?
I mean, right?
Like 5% here, 10% there, like that's adds up.
It's like the kids whenever you go to the movie theater. Oh, how old are they? Like, oh, they're 11. Mom, I'm 12. Shut the fuck up.
Shut up. Yeah, 100%.
You're 11.
Yeah, now I have a student ID. Like everywhere I go, I'm like, do you have student discount? Do you have a student discount? Do you have a student discount?
I mean, might as well use it and abuse it while you can.
Right? I'm like, I've only got a limited amount of time while I can do this, so I'm going to get the shit out of it. Like, come on.
Like, it's one of those things to where if the discounts and the money saved could, in theory, be worth the amount of money that it would cost, I would go back to school.
Just for the
I would make it like online school and as cheap as humanly possible, just so I could get my hands on like super fucking discounted like After Effects and Premiere and shit like that.
Amazon has student discount. Amazon Prime.
Yeah, Amazon does. Yeah. Spotify does.
Yeah.
So much shit offers cheap shit.
Yeah, I have full access to all Adobe like programs during my 4 years of school, like complete free access. All of Word as well, all of the Microsoft things are free for me. Lots of different like 3D software editing programs as well that are like, because I'm obviously in art school, so like a lot of animation programs are free for me to use during my 4 years. I am not in the animation program, so I have absolutely no idea how to use them. But yeah, because we were doing a class on like 3D models and stuff. So we were like taking photographs of objects and then rendering them in programs to like be able to have a 3D model of a direct object from photographs. Photogrammetry. We were doing photogrammetry. And that was like freaking insane. And then they animate those photographs, and it's we saw an exhibition that was at the school for it. Freaking nuts, dude. You sciencey people are weird. Math computery people.
Look at Dr. Stone. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not. Not at all.
Boom.
But yeah.
Point made.
Okay, what do you rate it?
7.5.
Yeah?
Actually,
did you prefer it to Laid Back Camp or not?
I definitely prefer Laid Back Camp, but I'm such a bigger fan of art.
I am with you.
So therefore, Laid Back Camp was just more cozy. Mm-hmm. For me, this was fun, don't get me wrong, and I really enjoyed it. However, comparing it to... what did we cover? What was the last thing we covered? I feel wrong giving Science Fell in Love and I Tried to Prove It a 8 and giving this a 7.5. So I'm gonna knock back Science Fell in Love and I Tried to Prove It back to a 7.5 just so they're equal, because I feel bad trying to put them beside or trying to put Science Fell in Love above it. Because I feel like I enjoyed this one equally as much, just for different reasons, but also the CGI in this one took me out of it to where I could have given it an 8, but there was some shit that kind of took me out of it. So 7.5 is just what came to mind first. So I'm gonna roll with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that as well. I found Laid Back Camp to be more immersive. I know for a fact that I was working whilst watching Laid Back Camp for the first time, and it distracted me from my work to the point where I didn't actually get any work done because I was just watching the show. Whereas Slowly didn't have that same level of grip power for me. I do kind of feel like it is a little bit of a poor man's laid back camp, which sucks because I don't want to feel that way. I think it's good in its own right, but it's so similar in not just like the plot and the fact that it's like going camping and stuff and it's a bunch of girls, but in specific characters. Like you see character traits within these girls that are so similar to the laid back camp girls that you can't kind of get rid of that out of your mind whilst watching. And I feel like I feel like they're just kind of too similar. And I relate more to laid back camp. I have a lot more personal experience camping than I do fishing. And I don't know, I just prefer laid back camp. I like that our main character in laid back, because again, it's the same thing. It's like quiet, reserved main character that knows a lot about the thing meets bubbly, crazy secondary character who doesn't know a lot about the thing but wants to learn a lot about the thing and gets very involved very quickly. Like that's, you see what I mean? Like the primary character and the secondary character are both almost exactly the same, a complete reflection of each other. So you can't watch the show if you've watched Laid Back Camp and not directly compare them.
So I feel bad making this comparison, but this really feels like Walmart Laid Back Camp, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it really does.
And I feel like it's not fair to try to sit here and compare this to Laid Back Camp. But again, it's like Platonic-a-Coon and ReZero and other shows that have set the standard for that particular quote-unquote genre. We have such a high standard of things that we have previously watched to where, and especially something like this that comes like directly at something like its predecessors that we've covered, it's hard not to. And considering how high of a standard that we hold Laid Back Camp to, it really does feel like it's a cheaper version. And there's nothing against the show. I had a really good time watching it. It's just I could not shake Laid Back Camp from my brain to the point to where that's how I described the show to Blue. I was like, hey, Laid Back Camp but fishing. Let's watch it.
Yeah, and so that being said, if you enjoyed Laid Back Camp, I do think that you will like this show, and I think you'll have a good time. I still feel like, unless you have like an affinity towards fishing, I feel like you will always kind of deter back to Laid Back Camp. I think the thing about the two shows as well that's quite interesting is because Slow Loop is so specific to fishing, Laid Back Camp is more relatable to the general populace. Like, I feel like the amount of people that have gone fishing versus the amount of people that have gone camping, like more people would have gone camping, right? And so I feel like, and because Laid Back Camp has like more breaks in it, I guess, like it's still camping every episode, but it's also like shenanigans at school. Whereas this did have an episode of shenanigans at school, but it's also like they didn't have a school club. But because Laid Back Camp is kind of based around a camping club at school, I feel like it has more breaks in it and more like, I don't know, it just, I agree. I do feel like this is kind of like a lesser version of Laid Back Camp, but not to the point where I don't think it's lesser. I just think it's more specific.
Yeah, it's much more niche compared to Laid Back Camp that kind of had a bit more overarchingness to it. But still, go check it out. It's well worth a watch.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 7. I just realized I hadn't actually verbalized that out loud. 7.
Sick.
Yeah, I think it's good. I just think that I would recommend Laid Back Camp over this.
Yeah, 100%. But still, if you like fishing, go check it out. Or if you've already seen Laid Back Camp and you need something else to scratch that itch, go watch this.
Yeah, 100%.
I stream twitch.tv/BradCarterGaming. Also, Instagram, same handle.
Yeah.
Blue do the socials at Blue Lavender STM on the Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah. And then the podcast have socials as well at BnB Anime on pretty much everything. And also on YouTube, we're at BnB Anime. If you are currently listening to this on YouTube, be aware that you are listening 1 week behind our Spotify and Apple Podcasts and other listening, like audio only platform release. You're 1 week behind. So if you want to listen to the next episode right away, just hop on over to an audio-only platform and find us there, because you'll get 2 episodes. Yay! So be sure to drop us a follow or subscribe, depending on which platform you're on. And let us know in either the DMs or the comments section any of the questions that we have asked about throughout this episode and your thoughts on today's show, as well as the episode, as well as the show itself. Because, like I said before, and I will say it again, we are just 2 idiots who like anime. We have 0 qualifications about reviewing anything. So if you disagree with our opinions, or you, I don't know, agree with our opinions and want to let us know, hit us up in those comment section of the DMs, because we love to learn about your perspectives. I think that is how we grow as commentators and as reviewers, like loosely. I say that term loosely. Is by getting your feedback as well. So we'd love to hear about it. And then also the website. Website has had a bit of a glow up, although it does have some tweaks still needing to be done, but it's there, and you can download the episodes directly from the website if you feel like doing so, which is www.bnbanime.com.
That everything?
That's everything.
All right, so thank you all so much for listening. Blue and I greatly appreciate it. Next week, Q.
Yeah.
Because as voice actors, why wouldn't we watch an anime about voice acting?
Bye.